We are going to switch gears for a bit now and talk about health. You know, we are 2 months into 2022, and it's not too late to make sure you get a healthy start to this year. One of the best ways to do that is to make those annual wellness visits for you and your family. Today, Dr. Jeremy Wigginton, the medical director at Blue Cross and Blue Shield, is here to share some great information about what we need to be asking our doctors about when we go on these visits. Welcome back, Dr. Jeremy.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. As usual, I appreciate it.
So glad you are here as well, and you'll be proud of me because I actually made my annual health visit coming up in March. Look at me following some great advice that you are going to also share with us this morning. What are some of your tips to help people stay healthy throughout 2022 when it comes to these visits?
Right. Well, it's the new year. We just started 2022. The best thing you can do is plan ahead. Even if you don't know you have any medical conditions, even if you think you're perfectly healthy, as we get older, things may go awry. And so the best thing to do is to, one, plan ahead and go ahead and make your annual wellness visit. And that is that time that you go in, you talk to your provider, they talk about your family history, they look at, do you have any medical history? Are you at risk for anything? Often there is blood work that will be drawn, so you can check things like cholesterol, what are your blood sugar, all of those things that are very common in the South, specifically like high cholesterol and diabetes. We all need to be regularly checked for those things, periodically. Depending on how old you are, it may need to happen more frequently. Even if you're a child, so even if you have children, oftentimes there's things that they need checked, like their blood counts or their iron levels. So there's just so many things that need to happen at different stages of our life. And so I know we've been dealing with this pesky pandemic, but especially if you had an annual wellness visit in a while, now is the time to do it. You want to catch any problems early, or if you've deferred care because of the pandemic, we got to get that care caught up. Also, to talk about any, annual shots you might need or immunization. So if you've got a kid that's about to go to college, or is going to start college next year, so need to go ahead and have them have a visit because they need to talk about some of those immunizations that they need before going to college, especially if they're going to be in a dormitory. So they may need things like a meningococcal vaccine, which prevents against meningitis. There's all kinds of other screenings depending on what your age is and if you're male or female. So there's just so many things it's hard for us individually to keep up with. And even 1 year could make a difference. So things might be different this year than they were last year. So getting those annual wellness visits scheduled so you can talk about all these really important things.
It's so true. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into talking about the screenings that we should be asking our providers about, because there are a couple of changes. Tell me about a colonoscopy.
Sure. Colonoscopy is that test where a camera is used to look inside the colon to check for early signs of colon cancer. Not only can you look for signs of colon cancer, but little polyps or little growths can actually be removed at the same time. That used to be pretty commonly across the board starting at age 50 for just about everybody at average risk. Well, now that age has been lowered to 45. So the United States Preventative Service Task Force, which is one of our large national organizations that make recommendations on the screening ages, just lowered that to 45. So if you're now 45 and you haven't had a colonoscopy yet, get that annual wellness visit, talk to your regular provider about that, and see if it's time for you to get that done. So be aware that that age has been lowered. Also for females, don't forget about those mammograms. So mammograms are still an extremely effective way at capturing breast cancer really, really, really early so that it can be treated. Same for colonoscopy. Catching those things as early as possible are the way that they can be treated, and oftentimes cured if they're caught early enough.
It's so important that we know those numbers, and it's so important that we also remember that mental health is a part of an annual wellness visit as well. Does insurance cover maybe therapy?
That's right. Mental health should be considered part of our everyday health, just like getting all that other stuff checked, like your cholesterol, cancer screenings. Talking about your mental health should be a part of that annual wellness visit. So if your provider's not asking you questions about your mental health, bring it up to them. Let them know how you're feeling. You're feeling sad, you're feeling blue, you have a lot of anxiety, difficulty sleeping, just mood in general. It's really important to let your provider know about your mental health because it can affect also your physical health. So you don't want to let that go. And there is in the United States something called mental health parity laws. So whatever your medical coverage is for your regular medical things like getting diabetes checked, whatever that coverage is, your mental health coverage has to be at least that good or better. So it's usually about the same. Sometimes there's a little bit of a different copay or maybe a cost share, but there is coverage there. So it has to be as good as your medical coverage. So, and if you have any questions about what your mental health or your medical coverage is, you can always check the back of your insurance card and call customer service. They can always verify your benefits with you if you have specific questions.
So important that you mentioned that, as well as if you're trying to find a provider, maybe you switched insurance, call that number on the back and they can help you find if that provider is in network. Now, Dr. Jeremy, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. Such great information as always. And good news is you'll be coming back next month to talk more about what we need to know in this health industry. Happy Mardi Gras to you, my good sir. And hey, if you want more information on how you can start off this year right with great help, log on to bcbsla.com or follow Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana at BCBSLA on social media. All right, everyone, stay right there. A lot more to come when we come back.